Hi, Blue. Welcome to the show.
Hi, John. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm doing fine. Now, you're over there in Germany, I understand.
Yes,
And I understand it's also hot over there, right?
it is very hot, and there is no air condition. Still, like we leave the window open. But if it's rainy, you you need to close the window, otherwise you will get soaked.
That's right. Well, I'm sorry that it has to be that way, but
It's
so
okay.
tell us, you've written a book and it's about to be published, if I understand correctly, and we'll get to that in a moment. But let us know who you are and why you have written this book and what made you write it. Yeah.
Absolutely. So my name is Blue, and I am originally like from the Middle East. I left my original country back in 2010. I went to Canada. I lived in Ottawa for 3 years. Then I moved to the US to pursue my undergraduate study. Uh, and I lived there until this year. What made me start writing? I started writing in an early age since I was in the fourth grade, but it was in Arabic. And I remember in the first class, in the creative class in the school, I wrote something against the monarchy, and it made huge trouble. So that taught me never to share my writing, and I've been writing since then. But I never shared anything that I write. I kept all my writing to myself. No one ever looked or read anything I wrote until 2020 or 2019. I become against an article talks about the problem with chromosome Y and how it has issue and it keep getting worse and worse over the year with every generation because the two chromosome X and Y, they don't communicate like with chromosome X and X. And the moment I read that article, the words start building in my mind, start building in my head. And I got myself and I start writing down every some of the details that I imagined. Uh, then I start doing a research about the topic, and I didn't find much stories about it in the market. And I said, okay, this is could be the golden ticket for me. So I started on it. I started writing. I found some stories that cover the same subject, but I didn't read them while I was writing. I read them later, but I didn't want to conflict with my writing, so I wanted to keep my writing as I imagine it, and I'm glad I did. However, so this is my first book ever anyone will read.
Hmm. Okay. So is it fiction or nonfiction?
Oh, it's fiction.
Oh, I see.
I don't do nonfiction.
Okay, all right. But you were talking about an article that you read concerning Y and X chromosomes. Those are the chromosomes that define gender, are they not?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
So how does that work into your message or your theme that this fictional book encapsulates?
absolutely. So the article was mentioning based based on my career, I read a lot of news and articles, stuff like that. Um, and that article discuss about how um, people or the men in power at the current day refuses the fact to refuses to acknowledge the fact of the chromosome Y issue, and they predicted by the year 2050 or 2060, if I remember correctly, the human population in the earth it will be 70-30, and it will keep going worse and worse with wordless men unless we start addressing this issue. And nobody want to, and they keep denying. And the moment I read that, cross-reference with me with global warming and how until now we have people don't believe in global warming, despite all the evidence, the hot weather and the Earth keep warming, getting warmer and warmer. The the wild get fire, set on fire by itself because of the heat. Still, people still denies that, and that's something they can see. But at the same time, scientists and people in power denying the fact that nobody can see, or nobody can see any effect of it as of now, but the evidence of it will appear in the future. That's why I cross-reference the two, and I mix the two together, and I build a world of Out of the Shadow out of these two issues based on that article.
Okay, all right. So is it a dystopian view that you have of the future, or things are just not as good as they are now? And not to say that they're great now either.
Yeah, it's a dystopian story about the future setting. Nothing that says we are living in utopia. I think we're already living in our own dystopia at the moment. But it's nice to get out from our own dystopia to build other dystopian world and to get to torture some other people than ourselves.
Sure. Yeah. So what's your personal view of the way these gender-defying chromosomes are heading for the human race? What do you think is happening?
I'm not a scientist, so I cannot speak from the science perspective based on one article. But from my understanding is when the chromosome X and X, when it happens, and let's say one of the two chromosomes has an issue, they communicate with each other, they fix each other up. And that's what I understood from that article. Again, I'm not a scientist, so I'm not going to say anything related to science under him. So when the two chromosomes has an issue, they communicate with each other and they know how to fix each other. However, that doesn't happen when it is chromosome X and chromosome Y. If there is an issue in either one of them, they don't know how to communicate. They don't know how to fix each other. So they keep going, and the baby keep growing and become a baby, and it grows up and get married and produce new babies with the same issue. And when that person or that baby gets male's baby, they will keep inheriting the same issue, but also the issue from the mom, and it will keep growing like rolling down like a snowball. The longer it rolls, the bigger it will get, until a point, I think it will be clear for everyone that it's an issue we kept ignoring and we kept dusting under the rug. I hope it will be an eye-opener as well, because as we can see in the current age, like the lifespan between men and women is a huge difference.
Depending where you live, what part of the world you live in too, right?
Most of the weathers that I'm aware of are female. So and that part of the article included, that is the current evidence that we can see at the current day, is the lifespan between the two genders.
Okay. Well, global warming has a pretty significant outcome that we could look at if we don't correct it. We can define that this is going to probably happen and it's going to be bad for these reasons. In the case of this chromosomal mishap, what do you see as the bad thing that's going to come about as a result of it? I mean, in your book, I mean, let's say you wrote about it, so you must have some conflict that occurs as a result of it. What is that conflict?
So in my book, the men are misfits, they look bad, they are not smart. And I'm not saying men are not smart. I'm saying in that world, men are not smart. Um, they in that world they kept ignoring the global warming signs until, and that is something happened pre the start of my novel. Uh, they kept ignoring the global warming until the big flood happened, and that wiped 80% of the earth, of their earth, and they and it left them with only few pieces of land to live on, and they need to learn how to, and they needed to learn how to live together and coexist together for the few people who remains in that world. But yet they built border, they built countries, human being human, and they did the first human in nature they know, uh, marking their territories. So, and that make the resources limited, and the communication, and they cannot help each other. So, and again, that's not related to the men, but I'm getting into there. So, the problem that I imagine that will happen with the men, there will be some feature like today, in today age we don't see, but sometimes people are don't look, for example, like normal. They look with I don't know what is the right word to say, and I don't want to be offensive, but you know what I mean. They don't look normal. They don't think correctly. They not smart, and they're always raging, and they are always angry. They always want to destroy everything, and they feel they are not satisfied. They are not content by themselves, and they always want to have control of others to feel, oh, now we.
So you're referring to the males in the future, not all humanity, but the males specifically,
The male
because of this problem.
yeah, the male in out of the shadow world,
Okay.
not in our
Right.
world.
Yeah.
So yeah, and they tend to like to have control over people's life, of to control everyone around them. Everyone want power. Everyone to have the control.
Well,
Stuff
par
like
for the
that.
course. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. You're touching on a very sensitive issue, and you even mentioned that you don't want to be offensive, and I'm sure you don't.
Yeah.
You know, gender dysphoria is a real thing, and it's a big issue in parts of the world where I come from, especially people want to make all kinds of political statements about it, but that's not what you're doing, right?
No, not at all. And when I started Out of the Shadow, I started before this goes viral, the current conflict. And I was like, okay, I did this, and in that war there are like um, in that war I don't consider the other gender. It's only two gender in that war. And not because I don't believe in that. I am a member of the LGBT community myself. I identify as non-binary, so I believe in that. But in this context, in this storyline, if you have a chromosome Y, uh, and you live in a queendom,
What you're describing basically is a world that you wouldn't want to live in.
not at all,
No.
not at all.
Okay.
And intentionally, I did the word, even though it's dystopian, I made it. Yes, it's dark, but I made the character always there. Like for me, I had to pick a character as to be a main character, even though when I was writing it, um, when I was writing the story, I said there's no main character in the story. The character or the main character is the world itself, the environment itself, how it looks like. That is the main issue, um, and the people in that world, they are looking at something, and they are fighting for something, but they are not seeing the other main problem that is happening. So I made sure when I write each character, I don't, oh, she's a woman, so she will be the perfect woman, or the perfect person. And because this is a male, it will be the worst male. That was the case in two or three characters. However, overall, everyone has gray personality.
Okay.
They have done something good and they have done something bad in the first part. So
Right.
I made sure to make them as human as possible, except as I mentioned for two or three characters,
Okay.
because from my experience, people tend to like character you don't want them to like, and I wanted to make sure nobody likes these characters, so I made them as pure, mostly as pure evil as I could.
Okay. So there's no protagonist, no hero that comes and saves the day and makes things better?
No, there is like there is a good side and bad side, but even the good side, they are not 100% good side or good people. Um, like they do stuff like normal. They and they take decision that might affect other people in different ways. They might think they are making the good decision at this moment. However, it turns out no, our decision was bad. Um, some of the rules or some of the laws is outrageous, and like intentionally when I wrote it, I wanted to be, how to say it, I wanted to drag the reader. I want them to keep flipping the page. So I kept giving them a shocker, then something, then a shocker, then a okay, why? What's going on? What's happening? Why? Why? And then I give a situation like a history lesson about the world, and it will show this is not a very old nation. They are a young nation, and they are still learning how to rule, how to become better and better.
Okay.
Uh, but yeah, like there is then I picked the main character. I said, okay, this character is the main character because without her, the story wouldn't start until a few years later. She did an action, and that action stirred the action of the story. So I said, okay, she is the main character, and I could consider her the main character, and that's what I based my blurb on, my video trailer on. Even though when I started writing this novel, she wasn't the main character because, in my opinion, no, I don't
Yeah.
have a main character.
Sure. Things change as you write from synopsis to first draft and all the editing that goes on after that. Um,
That's true.
so is this the planet? Is this planet? Is this Earth, but in the future? Is that what this is?
No, it's Earth, but different Earth.
Okay. Okay.
Different Earth, different world, different.
Sure. Sure.
I tried my best to not to be offensive. So I built a new world. I built different countries.
Mm-hmm.
I used names from different cultures, and not because I want to be offensive to that culture. It's just for me because we don't have right now, how to say it, we don't have the US, Canada, Europe in this world. So what I wanted to say, okay, these people came from this part of the world, the old world. So I gave them English name. These
Okay.
people came from this part of the world, so I gave them Arabic name. And these people came from that, so I gave them Asian name. And not to be offensive, it's just like I cannot, in a book, it will be difficult to say John, the person who is with blue eye and blonde hair, and then another John with dark skin and black hair.
Yeah. I know what you're saying
And
because
every time I'm going to
yeah.
mention that, so I decided the
Sure.
best way to differentiate the people is to give them like geographical name from our current world.
Right. So basically in the book, you're giving a little geography and history lesson every now and then to keep the reader understanding where they are, what the background is, and how they got to be these group of people where they are now. It's very
It's
important.
more of a history of that world, not a
Yeah.
geographic. But I do have a map, and by the way, I don't know if I showed this before or not. I got my approval copy
Mm-hmm.
last week, so I am really in love with it. I like it so
Sure,
far.
sure, of course.
But what I did something like this.
Okay. All right.
Okay, it's a different map, and every time,
You sort of update your reader with an image so they have an
yeah,
idea of where they are.
and every time something change in that world, I update the map with the new change of the geography or the border
Okay.
of the story.
Great.
Also, um, any reader can find a little bit. The book is a little bit more expensive than other book in the market, but I wanted to give the reader the best experience they can get by having it. 1 second. Let me figure it out.
So basically, by having the better quality paper, better quality color, and all that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly,
I know.
exactly.
I know. I've done the same
So
thing, and that's always a little more expensive. Yeah.
yeah, so maybe for other genre in the market, it's a little bit pricey, but I wanted to give them the best experience.
Yeah, I
I
know.
didn't want to go with the black and white.
Hmm.
So because I worked hard on drawing these maps, on drawing these flags, and making all of that. It's not just me writing. I draw them myself.
That's great. That's good. Yeah.
So I didn't want to make the book for cheap and cheap print, and all that hard work was to waste. I wanted to give the reader the best experience.
Yeah. Well, that sounds really interesting. I have a question. In your history that you are obviously making up, did they discover in this planet, this other Earth, what caused their problem, this chromosomal problem? Do they have a reason? Do they get it?
They don't have a reason, or let's put it that they didn't discover the reason yet. However, they discover a preventive way how to handle it and how to control it. And in the queendoms where they believe in that issue is real and exists, they have control. They have a system in place, uh, and they have categories for the men. Where in the kingdoms where they think it's a hoax, it's a lie, it's fiction, it's whatever. They don't care and they keep everything like it was before the flood. So the history of the and out of the shadow, the history is divided before the flood and after the flood.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
and they keep everything happening the same as before the flood. Even the cursing word in this word is not our earthy cursey word.
Hmm.
It's a word that related to the flood,
Okay.
to the water, like mud, flood.
I can picture that. I can picture that. So this flood that occurred obviously was devastating to the entire planet. When did that happen in relation to the beginning of your book?
100 years before the start of the story. 100 years. The story take place in the year 2100, and it took place in the year 2000.
Okay.
So around our age.
Okay.
In that
So nobody's alive that remembers it happening. They're the offspring of people who had to live through it. It's a
there's only
whole new generation of people.
yeah only one person who lived it as a child.
Okay, must be very old.
Very old. No, let us get this. It's part of a spoiler.
Okay. Oh, sorry. We won't spoil it, but I'll tell you, it's just it's really getting my attention. I mean, this is an interesting story.
That's thank you.
There's
That's
more
great.
there's more and more of us writing things like this, not exactly like what you're writing because it's very different, but the idea of a future. And we all think now we're thinking again, aren't we, about what future is going to look like in this century. Do you give that much thought for yourself?
I do, and I also like I do, and people who wrote about future or predicting the future, it started for a long time. George Orwell, 1984, and that future is reality in some places in the earth. Like the other day, I was talking to my friend, and I was joking with her, and I told her, uh, I don't like what's happening at specific social networking platform these days, without mentioning names. for someone being a baby, but don't mention the name. So I told her, I don't like it at all, but it's a good way to see the reaction of the people in the US and the Western world on a man who want to take control and to be all in one and does everything as he wants, as he pleases, and he doesn't care about anyone else. And if you talk bad about him, you get banned. If you say some of the word he says banned word. And she said, that's not good. I said, yeah, I know it's not good, but at least they have a level of our reality in our original country.
Mm-hmm.
So I always take care, I think 1984 is a perfect dystopian in the past that become reality in these days. And I hope my dystopian doesn't become reality in the future, but I hope we wake up. I hope we follow the sign. Um, I hope the political people start realizing the world doesn't revolve around your border only. The world doesn't revolve around your issue, your personal issue only, or personal fights. You need to. I think. I think we as a new generation, we need the brand new leader. If you look, for example, in the US, who are the leader or the political leader right now? All of them are very old. They are, and they fighting in the exact each opposite of each spectrum. One want to pull forward and the other want to pull back. And we should have a say as a new generation, because we shouldn't let the current leader who failed for so many years keep going. And we just care about our day to day. And
I
that
think,
is
well, I think things are changing. I think if we're going to be talking about U.S. politics, I think we saw the tide turn a little bit, enough, and I think the future is going to look better. I'm an optimist because
yeah.
young people are going to be in positions to make those changes. I was hoping that for my generation. And it's a bit disappointing to see how things turned out. But anyway, that's politics for you.
That's politics, and
Yeah. Do you
I
work any
believe in millennials.
do you work any of that politics into your story?
I do. Like I even though it's fictional world, it has some hint of reality, and people will sense that reality when they read the story. They will understand what's going on, what part of the world we are talking about. Um, with the current circumstances in the world, they might get it wrong, but if they got it, if they got the right idea, even if it was the wrong area geographically, I'm happy with that.
Okay. So do you think that, or do you feel of your writing that at the end of it all, you're sending out a message of hope or ideas for what we can do to prevent this kind of thing happening to this world?
Yes and no. Um, in a way, yes. Look, these people ignored the sign. These people ignored the science. They kept going in the wrong direction, and that's how it happened to them. At the same time, this is only the first book of the series. It is planned series under the wing, and I haven't decided on how many books yet, because if I'm going to do a prequel, it will be 5 books. Without a prequel, it will be 4 books. So it depends on the reaction. As I said, this is my first book ever. I don't know how people will react to it. So that's why I'm planning to start the second book of this after a year from now. I want to see the reaction. I want to see how it will work out.
So, Blue, when did you put out your pre-order, and when is this book going to be published?
The book is going to be out and published on August 8th. I started the pre-order after the first week of July. I did an entire week of book revealing and book tease, cover revealing and cover teasing. I published a video every day with portion of my cover get appear to the reader,
Good.
and since then I have been doing like video trailer for my books.
Oh, excellent. Well, I'll have to
Yeah,
check that out.
yeah, they are all in my Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok.
Did you edit that yourself?
Yes.
Oh, great. Well, you sound like a
So
very busy and creative person. I'm glad I met
yeah,
you.
yeah. Likewise, thank you very much.
Well, Blue, I guess we'll wrap it up. It's been a pleasure talking with you. And if you have
Likewise.
anything else that you write in the future, you make sure you call me and we'll do this all over again.
Absolutely, yes.
All right, Matt, take care.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Nice to meet you, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
You too.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. If you like what I do here on Tell Me About Your Book, then please subscribe, hit that like button, leave a comment below, and don't forget to ring that bell for future notifications. And if you are an author, I would really like to speak with you. Until such time, keep on writing and be kind to one another.